The Deathworld Council chamber was built to intimidate. The ceiling was high, curved like the inside of a massive skull. The walls were carved from stone taken from shattered planets. Every seat belonged to a species that had survived worlds meant to kill them: high-gravity worlds, poison worlds, frozen hells, burning suns. These were the strongest species in the known galaxy, and today, they were bored. The council session had already lasted hours. Trade disputes, border warnings, small civilizations begging for protection. Nothing exciting. Then a new request appeared at the center of the chamber. A blue symbol rotated slowly. Earth's request for Council RECOG. Anyone for a moment. The chamber was silent. Then someone laughed. A deep, rumbling laugh echoed across the hall. Another councillor joined in. Then another dot soon. The chamber filled with mocking sounds. Earth, one councillor said. That unstable planet? Isn't that the one with constant storms? Another added. A third leaned forward, claws tapping the stone table. They call it a death world, he said, amused. But the inhabitants are still alive. How dangerous can they be? More laughter followed. Earth was known, yes, but not respected. A small planet, high gravity, violent weather, weak biology. Humans had no claws, no natural armor, no fangs worth mentioning. They survived by luck, at least. That was the belief. The council chair raised a hand for silence. Let us not dismiss them too quickly. The chair said calmly. They have requested recognition. That requires procedure. A councillor snorted. Procedure for primitives? The chair did not respond.
Okay.
Instead, he nodded to the archive master. Open the human file. The archive master hesitated. That was unusual. Is there a problem? The chair asked. The file is extensive, the archive master replied. That caused a ripple of interest. Extensive? One councillor repeated. For a species barely swimming, the archive master activated the display. A massive data structure appeared in the air. Page after page, section after section. Biology, environment, history, psychology, conflict records. The laughter slowed. Begin with biology, the chair ordered. The first section appeared. Humans, soft tissue bodies, no natural weapons. Slow reflexes compared to predators, store lifespan. Several councillors relaxed again. As expected, one said. Fragile. But, the archive master continued. Environmental tolerance, he said. The next data block appeared. Extreme gravity for a biped species. Highly unstable tectonics. Constant seismic activity. Unpredictable climate. Wide temperature range. Frequent natural disasters. The room quieted. One councillor leaned forward. They evolved in that. Yes, the archive master said. Another councillor frowned. They did not terraform at first. No. They did not modify themselves. No. Silence spread slowly. The archive master continued. Earth experiences events regularly, he said. Volcanic winters. Meteor impacts. Ice ages. And the humans? The chair asked. They survived. The archive master replied. Someone laughed again, but it sounded forced this time. Survival is not dominance. A councillor said. The chair nodded. Continue. The archive master hesitated again before opening the next section. History of conflict. Several councillors smiled. This should be entertaining, one said. The first images appeared. Primitive weapons. Early wars. Small-scale violence. "See?" a counselor said. "They fight each other." Then the images changed. Global wars. Millions dead. Cities destroyed. The chamber grew quiet. "Why are there so many?" one counselor asked. The archive master answered calmly. "These are internal conflicts." Another image appeared. Rebuilding. Advancement. Technology accelerating rapidly. A counselor blinked. They recovered, quickly. "Yes," the archive master said. The images continued. Each war was worse than the last. Each recovery was faster. Weapons improved. Medicine advanced. Industry expanded. One counselor shifted uncomfortably. "They learned from loss," he said slowly. The archive master nodded. Double quotes, "Yes." The chair leaned forward. "Pause," he said. The display froze. He looked around the chamber. "Why does the file continue for so long?" The archive master swallowed. "Because," he said, "humans do not stop." The laughter was gone now. The chair gestured. "Continue." The display changed again. Human psychology. Pack bonding. Tribal loyalty. Protective instincts. Standard Deathworld behavior. Someone muttered. Then another line appeared. Extreme resistance to despair. Counselor frowned. "What does that mean?" The archive master answered carefully. "It means humans continue even when logic suggests they should not." Images appeared. Humans fighting while wounded. Humans refusing surrender. Humans saving others instead of themselves. One counselor whispered. "They don't retreat when afraid. They advance," the archive master said. The chair felt a chill. "Why?" he asked. The archive master paused. "There is no single reason," he said. "Sometimes it is family. Sometimes ideals. Sometimes stubbornness." The final warning symbol flashed on the file. Restricted section high-risk DA TAF. The chamber was completely silent. Now, no one laughed, no one mocked. The chair stared at the symbol. "Open it," he said. The archive master's voice was low. "Once opened," he said, "this cannot be forgotten." The chair nodded. "Open it." The symbol dissolved, and for the first time since Earth's request appeared. The Deathworld Council began to understand that they may have made a terrible mistake. The restricted section of the human file opened slowly. Lines of data filled the air, glowing in pale blue light. No one spoke. Even the most aggressive council members sat still, watching the archive master cleared his throat. "This section explains how humans should not exist," he said. A few counselors shifted. "That makes no sense," or muttered. The archive master continued. "Human biology is not suited for their planet." The display zoomed in. Bones designed for lower gravity. Muscles under constant strain. Organs exposed to toxic air mixtures. Eyes sensitive to intense solar radiation. A counselor frowned. "Then how do they function?" he asked. "They endure." The archive master replied. New images appeared. Humans working through exhaustion. Humans injured, but continuing. Humans aging rapidly, yet refusing rest. They are always damaged. Another counselor said. "Yes," the archive master answered. "And they continue anyway." That answer did not sit well with the council. Another section opened. Pain. Response analysis charts appeared. Humans feel pain strongly. Pain signals do not shut down quickly. Injuries remain painful long after impact. One counselor laughed nervously. "So, they suffer more?" Yes, the archive master said. Much more? The counselor relaxed. That is weakness. The archive master did not agree it should be, he said. But humans adapted. The next data block appeared. Humans learn to ignore pain. They work through it. They fight through it. One counselor leaned forward. They don't numb it. No. They don't suppress it chemically. Sometimes, the archive master replied. But often, they choose not to. The room grew quieter. Why? The chair asked. The archive master hesitated. There is no biological reason. He said, it appears cultural. That caused concern. Culture-driven survival was unpredictable. The file moved on. Environmental stress response images of Earth filled the chamber. Hurricanes tearing cities apart. Earthquakes, swallowing buildings. Floods, drowning entire regions. Fires consuming forests. These events happen regularly, the archive master said. How often? A counselor asked. Often enough that humans expect them. Silence. They expect their world to try to kill them? Another counselor asked. Yes. And they still build cities? Someone whispered. Yes. And families? Another added. Yes. A counselor slammed a claw on the table. That is madness. The archive master nodded. Correct. Another section appeared. Extinction-level event history. The council leaned forward. Asteroid impacts. Volcanic winters. Ice ages. These should have wiped them out, one counselor said. They nearly did, the archive master replied. Nearly. The chair asked. The archive master changed the display. Humans adapting, migrating. Changing diets. Inventing tools. They lost most of their species multiple times, he said. And they're rebuilt from the survivors. One counselor whispered. They rebuild from nothing. Yes. The file shifted again. Human innovation under pressure. The council expected slow progress. Instead, the data showed acceleration. The more pressure humans faced, the faster they advanced. Weapons evolved rapidly. Medicine leaped forward after disasters. Technology surged after wars. A counselor leaned back slowly. They don't slow down when hurt, he said. They speed up, the archive master replied. That statement caused visible discomfort. Another counselor spoke. Why hasn't their planet killed them yet? The archive master looked at the chair. Because, he said carefully, humans treat survival as a shared responsibility. A new set of images appeared. Humans rescuing each other during disasters. Humans forming emergency groups. Humans risking their lives for strangers. They don't abandon the weak, the archive master said. That's inefficient, a counselor argued. Yes, the archive master replied. And yet, it works. The chair rubbed his chin. Continue, he said. The archive master hesitated again. This next part explains why the file was flagged, he said. The title appeared. Psychological adaptation to foray. Counselor scoffed. All species feared death. Yes, the archive master said. But humans do something different with it. Data streamed in. Fear does not cause paralysis. Fear increases focus. Fear strengthens group bonds. They turn fear into fuel, one counselor whispered. Yes, another image appeared. Humans entering danger willingly. Firefighters. Rescuers. Soldiers. They walk toward death. A counselor said softly. The archive master nodded. Double quotes. Knowing it may kill them. The chamber felt colder. The chair looked around. Why would any species choose that? He asked. The archive master answered quietly. Because humans do not measure life only by survival. The council did not like that answer. What do they? Measure it by. The chair pressed. The archive master paused. Meaning. The word echoed in the chamber. Meaning was dangerous. Meaning caused irrational decisions. Meaning caused wars. The archive master continued. This is only the beginning of the file, he said. The rest explains what happens when humans are threatened together. The chair straightened. You mean invasion scenarios? Yes. The archive master closed the current section. I strongly advise caution, he said. The chair looked at the council. No one laughed now. No one mocked Earth. They had expected a weak Deathworld species instead. They were looking at something worse, a species that lived on a planet trying to kill them, and learned to live anyway. The chair raised his hand. Proceed, he said. And somewhere deep in the human file, the real fear was just beginning. The archive master did not speak right away. The council waited, uneasy. The chamber felt smaller now, as if the walls had moved closer. No one joked anymore. No one smiled. This section, the archive master said slowly, was almost removed from the file. That caught everyone's attention. Why? The council chair asked. Because it does not fit known survival logic. The archive master replied. He activated the next section. Human psychological anomalies. Several counselors exchanged looks. Psychology was always dangerous. It was harder to predict than weapons. The first data appeared. Humans form strong emotional bonds. They attach deeply to family units. They expand those bonds beyond blood. That is normal, a counselor said. Pack behavior. Yes, the archive master agreed. But humans take it further. The display changed. Humans bonding with unrelated groups. Humans protecting strangers. Humans risking their lives for those they barely know. A counselor frowned. That is inefficient. Yes, the archive master said again. But consistent. The next line appeared in large symbols. Humans value others above themselves. The room went silent. That cannot be correct, one counselor said. No species survives like that. And yet, the archive master replied, they do. The file showed footage. Humans pulling others from disasters while ignoring their own injuries. Humans shielding children with their bodies. Humans refusing to abandon the wounded. They choose death, a counselor whispered. No, the archive master corrected. They choose meaning. That word again, meaning, the council chair shifted uneasily. Explain, he said. The archive master took a breath. Humans do not measure life only by how long it lasts, he said. They measure it by what it protects. That unsettled the council deeply. Most Deathworld species valued survival above all else. Humans seemed to value something else more. The display shifted again. Response to imminent death. This section was marked with multiple warnings. Images appeared of humans facing certain death. Explorers stranded. Soldiers surrounded. Civilians trapped. The council expected panic. Instead, they saw something worse. Humans organizing. Humans comforting each other. Humans joking in their final moments. One counselor stood slightly. They are calm, he said. Yes, the archive master replied. They accept death. That statement caused a ripple of alarm. Acceptance reduces deterrence. The chair said sharply. Yes, the archive master said. That is why this is dangerous. Another image appeared. Humans. Charging into hopeless battles. Not to win, to delay, to buy time for others. They sacrificed themselves, a counselor said. Double quotes. Yes. Voluntarily. Yes. The council understood the implication. A species that accepted death could not be easily threatened. Fear did not control them the same way. The archive master continued. Humans do fear death, he said. But they fear losing others more. That's silence again. The file moved forward. Ideological persistence. This section showed human beliefs. Freedom, justice, dignity. These are abstract, a counselor said. They cannot defeat armies. No. The archive master replied. But humans will die for them. The display showed revolutions, uprisings, resistance movements. Humans outmatched. Humans underpowered. Humans refusing to surrender. They keep fighting even when logic says stop. The chair said, Yes, the archive master replied. Especially then. A counselor whispered something that chilled the room. How do you conquer a species that will not accept defeat? No one answered. The archive master moved to the next subsection. Human reaction to external threat simulations appeared again. This time, the invaders used fear tactics. Orbital bombardment. Civilian targeting. Psychological warfare. The council expected collapse. Instead, human resistance increased. They become more united. A counselor said in disbelief. Yes, the archive master replied. They don't turn on each other. No, they don't beg. No, they fight harder. Yes. The chair closed his eyes briefly. Fear-based control would fail. The file displayed a final line for this section. Humans cannot be ruled through fear alone. That sentence felt like a warning carved into stone. The archive master paused. This concludes the psychological analysis, he said. The council sat in heavy silence. One counselor finally spoke. They are irrational, he said. Yes, the archive master agreed. And irrational enemies are dangerous, the counselor finished. The chair looked around the chamber. We mocked their invitation, he said slowly. Several counselors lowered their eyes. We laughed at them. No one denied it. The chair continued. And yet this file shows a species that... He stopped. Searching for the correct word chooses suffering, he finished. The archive master corrected him gently. They choose purpose. That was worse. Purpose-driven. Species reshaped galaxies. The chair straightened. There is one section left, he said. The archive master nodded. Double quotes. Yes, he said quietly. The final record. A new warning symbol appeared. Final section council decision. A Recuadetha council did not rush this time. They had learned enough to be afraid, and fear, for once, was justified. The chair raised his hand. Open it, he said. Because now the question was no longer, are humans dangerous? The question had become, what happens if we ever give them a reason to unite against us? The human file did not move forward smoothly. It jumped. Large gaps appeared between sections, marked with warning symbols and time compression notices. That alone unsettled the council. Files were usually neat, ordered, predictable. This one was not. The archive master spoke again. This section covers human conflict history, he said. It is the longest part of the file. A counselor scoffed. Internal fighting is common among Deathworld species, he said. It proves instability. The archive master nodded. That is what we believed. He said, the first images appeared. Primitive humans fighting with simple weapons. Stones, blades, fire, crude. A counselor said, the archive master did not respond. The images changed. Metal weapons, organized groups. Strategy. The death toll numbers rose. Still internal, the council chair said. They destroy themselves. Yes, the archive master replied. But watch what happens next. The display shifted again. Human cities destroyed. Entire regions burned. Millions dead. Then something unexpected followed. Rebuilding faster than before. Roads rebuilt. Cities redesigned. Technology improved. A counselor leaned forward. They rebuilt. Better. Yes, the archive master said. The file accelerated. Another war, even larger. More destructive. Entire continents involved. The council watched silently as casualty numbers climbed into the tens of millions. This should have ended them. One counselor whispered. It nearly did, the archive master replied. The images changed again. Medical breakthroughs. Communication systems. New forms of energy. They advanced because of war, the council chair said slowly. Yes, that was troubling. Most species regressed after major conflict. Humans surged forward. Archive master continued. Humans do not treat war as an ending, he said. They treat it as a lesson. The display paused on a single line. Conflict accelerates human evolution. Room felt heavy. The file moved to another section. Human. Response to law's images appeared of humans, mourning, grief, tears, anger. Then, the images changed. Determination. Training. Preparation. They don't collapse after loss, a counselor said. No, the archive master replied. They reorganize. The file highlighted something alarming. Humans remembered their defeats more clearly than their victories. They catalog failure, the archive master said. They study it. Why? The chair asked. So it never happens again? The archive master answered. That silence returned again. The display shifted to tactical records. Humans adapting changing strategies rapidly. Learning enemy behavior faster than expected. They adjust during combat, a counselor said. Yes, the archive master said. They don't wait for peace to evolve. The file jumped forward again. Nuclear. Weapons? Several counselors flinched. They created planet-destroying weapons, one said. Against themselves? Yes. Why weren't they wiped out? Another demanded. The archive master brought up another image. Human restraint treaties. Disarmament agreements. Fear of mutual destruction. They looked into extinction, he said, and chose survival. That disturbed the council more than violence. Self-control under absolute power was rare. The archive master continued. Humans are capable of extreme brutality, he said. But they are equally capable of restraint. The file moved to simulations. External threat scenarios. The council stiffened. Invasion models appeared at first. The numbers favored the attackers. Human defenses failed quickly. Cities fell. Then the models shifted. Humans adapted. They changed tactics. They learned alien weaknesses. They turned civilian infrastructure into support networks. They weaponize everything. A counselor whispered, "Yes," the archive master said, including cooperation. The simulations continued. Human resistance grew stronger the longer the invasion lasted. Casualties increased, not human casualties. Attacker casualties. The council chair leaned forward. Pause, he said. The display froze. Why does their resistance improve? He asked. The archive master answered quietly. Because humans do not fight as individuals. The display zoomed out. Human alliances forming. Rival nations uniting. Old enemies standing side by side. They set aside differences, the archive master said, when facing extinction. A counselor's voice was low. So mocking them. Would unify them. The archive master finished. The council chair felt a chill. The file displayed a final note in this section. Humans fight hardest when defending others, not territory. Not resources, people. The archive master closed the section. This concludes their conflict history, he said. The council sat in silence. They had expected chaos. They had found something worse, a species that turned suffering into strength, loss into learning, fear into unity. The chair finally spoke. They fight each other, he said. Yes, the archive master replied. And yet, the chair continued slowly, if we threaten them. The archive master nodded. They will stop fighting each other, he said, and fight us instead. The council understood now. They were not watching a weak Deathworld species. They were watching a civilization forged in constant war. That had never truly lost. The chair raised his hand. Proceed to the next section. He said that his voice was no longer calm. It was careful, because the human file was no longer amusing. It was becoming dangerous. The final section of the human file did not open immediately. Instead, a warning filled the chamber. Access requires unanimous counsel. CONSE on Titham, everything. The Deathworld Council had reviewed thousands of species. Some dangerous, some violent, some powerful. None had ever required such a warning. The chair looked around the chamber. Any objections? He asked. No one spoke. No one moved. The silence itself was the answer. Open it, the chair said. The archive master swallowed and activated the file. The chamber lights dimmed. The air felt heavy, as if gravity itself had increased. The title appeared. Simulated Outcomes: Humanity under External Threat. The first simulation began. A hypothetical invasion force entered Earth's system. Superior ships. Advanced weapons. Complete technological advantage. The council relaxed slightly. This is familiar, one counselor said. Overwhelming force. The simulation continued. Human satellites were destroyed. Orbital defenses failed. Major cities were struck. Human casualties rose quickly. This is where they break. A counselor said. The archive master did not respond. The simulation shifted. Human governments collapsed. Then, something unexpected happened. New structures appeared. Local leadership, civil coordination, independent resistance cells. They reorganize, the chair said slowly. Yes. The archive master replied. The simulation sped up. Human communication adapted. Old enemies shared information. Civilian networks supported fighters. They are fighting without a central command, a counselor said. Yes. Casualties increased on both sides. Then something alarming appeared. Human technology began changing. Not years later. Not months later. During the conflict, they are reverse engineering weapons, mid-war. Someone whispered. Double quotes, yes, the archive. Mastered said. They always do. The invaders escalated. Planetary strikes. Fear tactics. Demonstrations of power. The Council watched closely. Human response intensified. Not. Panic. Rage. Entire populations mobilized. Factories converted overnight. Children evacuated. Elders trained. They are turning their whole species into a weapon. A counselor said, double quotes, yes. The archive master replied. The simulation entered its next phase. Long-term CONFLEC years passed. In seconds, the invaders controlled orbit. Humans controlled the ground. Casualties mounted. The invading force began losing ships not to superior weapons, but to unpredictable tactics, ambushes, sacrificial strikes, decoys. They don't value survival the way we do, the chair said quietly. No, the archive master replied. They value victory. The simulation displayed probability curves. At first, human extinction was likely, then it wasn't. The lines shifted. Human survival probability increased. The longer the war continued, Chancellor stood up slowly. That is backwards, he said. Double quotes, yes? The archive master replied. The simulation reached a critical point. The invading force attempted negotiation. Humans refused. They won't surrender. A counselor asked. Not once extinction has been threatened. The archive master said. The final phase appeared. OUTCOM, the invading force withdrew. Not defeated, exhausted. Resources drained, morale broken, losses unacceptably. Humanity remained. Damaged, reduced. Alive. The chamber was completely silent. The simulation ended. The archive master looked up. This outcome repeats, he said. In every scenario. The chair spoke slowly. So even if we win, we lose, the archive master finished. A counselor whispered. What if we don't invade? The archive master changed the display. Humanity left E1 Paro, E1 Paro VOK increased. Technology shared cautiously. Defensive posture maintained. Humans expanded slowly. Formed alliances. Avoided conquest. They don't seek domination, the chair said. No, the archive master replied. They seek security. Another counselor leaned forward. And if we insult them? The archive master paused. Mockery increases unification. Probability, he said. Public humiliation is classified as a high-risk trigger. The council remembered the laughter, the jokes, the dismissal of Earth's invitation. The chair closed his eyes briefly. We made an error, he said. Yes, the archive master replied. The chair looked at the council. We believed Deathworld. Strength meant claws, armor, and fangs, he said. But humans survived a world that tries to kill them every day. He paused. And they learned to call it home. No one argued. The chair straightened. There is one final note, the archive master said. A single line appeared. Humans are not the strongest species. They are the most persistent. The chamber remained silent long after the display faded. The council understood. Now this was not a species to conquer, not a species to mock, not even a species to fear lightly. This was a species that would outlast anyone foolish enough to challenge it. The chair finally spoke. We vote next, he said. No one objected. because the decision was already clear. The Deathworld Council did not speak for a long time. The final simulation had ended, but its shadow remained in the chamber. No one laughed now. No one shifted in their seat. Even the most aggressive species sat still, staring at the empty space. Where the human file had been, the chair finally broke the silence. Earth requested recognition, he said slowly. They did not threaten us. They did not boast. They did not demand. He paused, and we laughed. No one denied. The chair turned to the archive master. What happens next? He asked. The archive master answered honestly. If we respond with silence, he said, humans will prepare. Humans will prepare. If we respond with mockery, he continued, humans will unite. If we respond with force. He stopped. The council already knew the rest. Humans will endure, he finished, and we will lose more than we gain. A counselor stood. He was massive, scarred, a survivor of 3 extinction wars. My world burned twice, he said. We were strong, we were feared. He looked around the chamber. We are still here, he said, but not because we were strong. Silence followed. We survived because no one wanted to fight us again, he continued. That is not the same thing. He looked at the symbol of Earth, still floating faintly in the air. Humans are different, he said. They do not win wars quickly. They make wars unbearable. That statement settled heavily. Another counselor spoke. If we recognized Earth, she said, we legitimize them. Yes, the chair replied. And if we don't, she asked. The archive master answered. Then we teach them the galaxy fears them, he said. And fear is something humans understand very well. That was not comforting. The chair raised his hand. The vote begins. He said, symbols appeared before each council seat. 3 options. Reject Earth, delay decision, recognize, EARTH. One by one. The symbols changed. No one chose rejection. That alone was historic. Several chose delay, but as each vote appeared, hesitation was visible. Finally, the last votes came in. The chamber fell silent again. The result appeared. Recognize Earth UNA. Decision echoed through the chamber like a quiet explosion. The chair exhaled slowly. Then, it is done, he said. A formal response was prepared. Carefully worded, respectful, neutral, Earth was granted recognition as a sovereign civilization. No restrictions, no sanctions, no hidden warnings. The chair added a final clause. Earth is classified as a high resilience civilization. Engagement requires caution. The archive master paused. Do you wish to add an advisory note? He asked. The chair thought. For a moment, yes, he said. He dictated slowly. Never mock a species that survived a Deathworld, and chose cooperation over conquest. The file was sealed far away. On a small blue planet, no one noticed the moment. Humans went to work. Children went to school. Families argued and laughed. They did not know a council had debated their fate. They did not know. Their planet had been measured. They did not know the galaxy had learned something important about them. And that was exactly why they were dangerous. Weeks later, the first human diplomats arrived at the edge of council space. They did not arrive in massive fleets. They arrived in a small, well-maintained vessel. No weapons displayed. No threats, broadcast, just a message. We come in peace. The council watched carefully. The chair spoke quietly. They don't even know how close they were. He said. The archive master nodded. That makes them more frightening, he replied. The human representatives spoke calmly. They listened more than they talked. They asked questions, they acknowledged mistakes. They showed curiosity instead of fear. One counselor leaned toward the chair. They don't act like conquerors, he whispered. No. The chair replied. They act like survivors. As the meeting ended, the chair stood alone for a moment. Looking at the final page of the human file, the last line glowed softly. Humans are not defined by their planet. They are defined by how they protect each other. The chair closed the file. In the years that followed, the galaxy would learn this lesson again and again. Humans would not rush outward. They would not dominate. But when disaster struck, they would help. When alliances failed, they would adapt. When threatened, they would stand together. The galaxy would never forget the day it laughed at Earth, because that was the day it learnt something important. The most dangerous species is not the one born strong. It is the one born fragile. On a world that tried to kill it, and survived anyway. End of story.